Well, hi there. It's me, Peter Alsop, and this is my Songs to Chew podcast. If you're new here, welcome. And if you've come by before, thanks for stopping by again. Today, we'll listen to a song I wrote 40 years ago, and it's still very relevant today because it's about a cure for sexual harassment. It's true. It's been met with wild acclaim by hundreds of thousands of feminists and Me Too advocates. I originally recorded it on my Fan Club Favorites album, and it's included on Songs on Sex and Sexuality, one of the 3 albums in my Dr. Peter Alsop's Professional Laughter series. Are you ready to sing along? Here we go with our song to chew for today, Give Yourself a Hand.
Give yourself a hand, give yourself a hand. You say it's not your fault, so it's got to be your glands. So give yourself a hand, give yourself a hand. Give us all a break and give yourself a hand. You know, you act like you've been deserted on an island, all alone for years, with no one there to scratch your back or rub behind your ears. So you act like you're in heat, drowning in testosterone, and every conversation takes on sexual overtones. On your fingers indiscreetly with no conscience of their own, go creeping here and there, acting quite unchaperoned. Your starving, leering, lechy eyes pursue her every move, drooling, searching for her thighs or the bouts of her bazoom. It's so tedious, exhausting, unnecessary, and easily cured and remedied, this plague of modern men. Just give yourself a hand, give yourself a hand. You say you're at the mercy of your bodily demands, so give yourself a hand, give yourself a hand. Give us all a break and give yourself a hand. Oh, that's what we're singing about. So you won the big election, but it's not your macho crap. It's your work, not your erection, that put you on the map. You're the chairman, captain, chief. Your title's on your card. Success once brought relief, but now that's not the way things are. Has your mother ever mentioned suffering gross indignities from big men with bent intentions? Do you think that she'd be pleased? Come on and join the rest of us. We're trying hard to change the selfish and injurious ways that we've been trained. If you're insecure or scared, you can ask me for support. If you're lonely, we can talk. But if you're horny, be a sport and give yourself a hand, give yourself a hand. You say you're only comfortable when you're in command, so give yourself a hand, yeah, give yourself a hand. Give us all a break and give yourself a hand. This common health phenomenon some marriages has saved. They don't do it down in Washington, which is why they're so depraved. It's fun and full of rhythm. You can play to beat the band. So do yourself a favor. It's something you will savor. Yes, do yourself a favor and give yourself a hand. Give yourself a hand. Give yourself a hand. You say you've no control when your private parts expand. So give yourself a hand. Give yourself a hand. Give us all a break and give yourself a hand. Know that riding on the range makes a cowpoke real tough, and seamy, smelly, strange, and all that other manly stuff. Just like football, motorcycle grease, soldiers, guns, and beer. You're out to prove that you're okay, but boy, you're acting weird. Have you got a big obsession? Afraid that you might die if your sexual aggression won't make some sweet young thing sigh and offer you her hips and heart and mind and soul? Do you have to have a power fix to make you feel whole? No one else should have to suffer cause you happen to be strong. Grow up and be responsible for knowing right from wrong. And give yourself a hand, give yourself a hand. We will all applaud you when you try hard as you can. So give yourself a hand, give yourself a hand. Give us all a break and we'll give you a hand. Yeah, give yourself a hand, give yourself a hand. We will all applaud you when you try hard as you can.
That was the wonderful Michelle Browerman playing piano with Norm Roper on drums and Peter Spellman on bass, and background vocals by the incredible Shelby Flint, my wife, actress-director Ellen Geer, along with Elliot Wolf, and the amazingly talented comedic clarinetist and composer, Ms. Miriam Cutler, who used to play with the new Miss Alice Stone Ladies Society Orchestra and who more recently has composed hundreds of scores for film and television, including the Emmy-winning documentary RGB. So, you might ask, where did you get the idea for this song, Peter? Well, back in 1981, a friend of mine, Dr. Betsy Stanko, who was a professor of sociology at Clark University in Worcester, Massachusetts, let me know that she was being sued in a multi-million-dollar lawsuit, along with another professor, Dr. Jimena Bunster, and one of the female graduate students at Clark University, for defamation of character by the head of their department, a man named Sidney Peck. It seems that Mr. Peck was the thesis advisor for a number of female graduate students, and he had made it quite clear to some of them that they would need to provide him with sexual favors if they wanted their thesis approved. Evidently, he had also harassed his department colleagues, Betsy Stanko and Jimena Bunster, in the same way. The women compared their stories and decided to report him to the Clark University authorities for his sexual harassment. So, Clark University brought charges against Mr. Peck, at which point Mr. Peck, who also served as the head of the teachers union at Clark, immediately reported this to the National Labor Relations Board, claiming that he was being charged for sexual harassment only because they wanted to get rid of the union at the university. Well, the authorities at Clark University didn't like this at all, so they sat down with Mr. Peck, without notifying the three women who had brought charges against him, and they offered to drop the sexual harassment charges against him if he would call off the National Labor Relations Board suit against them, which he did. They also, against their own protocols about reporting sexual harassment, divulged to Mr. Peck the names of the three women who had reported him. Of course, the very next day, Mr. Peck sued each of them for defamation of character in his multi-million-dollar lawsuit. Once again, a man with privilege and authority had taken advantage of his position to manipulate and victimize women for his own pleasure and power. And I hated it. I asked Betsy if there was anything I could do to help, and I offered to play at a fundraiser for her legal defense fund. Well, Betsy Stanko agreed, and I knew I had to write a very special song for this event. But as I sat down to write, I thought to myself, here we go again. All us men know how to do is attack and fight with each other. How can I look at this situation and hate the behavior, but love the man? So difficult to do. But then I thought, there but for the grace of God goeth I. Had I been brought up like him, had his same history, well, that might have been me. So why attack this pitiful, horny, privileged man who took advantage of his position to get something he thought he needed? How can we stop this from happening again and again? And then I thought, maybe if he masturbated more often, he might be able to take control of himself. I mean, literally. And then this very song we've listened to today sprung into my mind, almost completely written. And that is how I got the idea for today's Song to Chew. So I'll leave that with you, along with the concept that some of you, dear listeners, might find useful advice hidden in these lyrics that might actually help you, too, achieve a new level of self-control in matters of horniness. That's it for today. If you find this podcast entertaining or useful in any way, I'd love to hear from you. If you'd like to be a sponsor, you can write to me at peter@peteralsop.com or check out my Patreon page at patreon.com, where you can support my music and other artistic endeavors. Please let others know about this podcast. It's free. Thanks for stopping by. I'm Peter Alsop. Hope to see you again next week. Bye for now.